Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
I got to say thank you for everybody that helped out last night at the Windward Mall Blonde Dance. It was a lot of fun. Very exhausting, but I do appreciate especially my crew of Vandagi makers and my newfound hero, Dr. Mike. Okay, the ringing of the concho signifies the start of the service. Please sit quietly. Please rise for meditation, followed by the chanting of the Vandana and Tisarana by the congregation in Pali and in English. The Vandana Tisarana can be found in the red Praises of the Buddha book.
naman daw.
Please be seated. Please turn to page 112, also in the red Jodo Shinshu. Wait, is it in this book? Okay, page 112
Naman daw.
for the Sutra, Praises of the Buddha.
Your face shines in great splendor, boundless, wondrous dignity, such the greatness of your light, beyond all comparison, brightness of the sun and moon, and the shining many jewels, when compared to your brilliance, seem to us like blackest ink. Tathagata's countenance transcends all comparison. The great voice of awakening resounds through the 10 quarters. Your precepts, learning, effort, meditation, wisdom are virtues beyond all compare, ultimate, supreme, and rare. Your deep meditation has fathomed all the Dharma sea to the limits and the depths of all things the Buddhas teach. Ignorance, anger, and greed, the world-honored one has none. Like a lion among men, measureless your great virtue, vast are your great virtuous deeds, wisdom deep and so sublime, your radiant luminous light shakes all the world's foundations. When I become a Buddha, equal to the Dharma King, I will transcend birth and death, liberating all beings, my giving disciplined mind, precepts, patience, and effort, meditation and wisdom shall be supreme, unsurpassed. I will attain Buddhahood, everywhere fulfill my vow, bringing to all those in fear great peace and tranquility. Though there are myriad Buddhas hands. I will honor each of them equally, accepting none. Even more importantly, I will seek the supreme way, even though all Buddha worlds are countless as Ganges sands, even though all lands and realms are boundless without measure, yet my light shall reach them all and illumine every place. Such shall be my perfect work, such my power infinite. When I attain Buddhahood, my land will be first and best, place of practice transcendent, His people sublime and rare, land equal to nirvana, beyond all comparison, with pity for everyone, I will carry all across, all who come from 10 quarters to be born into my land, to attain pure joyful mind, peace and great tranquility. Be my witness, Buddha, please confirm my sincerity. Now that I have made my vows, I will strive to fulfill them. Buddhas of the 10 quarters, with your wisdom unhindered, may all of these honored ones know my deepest intention, even though my body must bear great pain and suffering. I will persevere and strive patiently without regret. Nama, 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 We are born in the
Please rise and turn to page 2 of the same red service book for the recitation homages. Hard it is to be born into human life. Now we are living in it. Difficult it is to hear the teachings of the Blessed One. Now we hear them. If we do not gain emancipation in this present life, we may not be free from ill faring in the ocean of births and deaths for kalpas. Let us reverently take refuge in the three treasures. We go to the Buddha for guidance. May we always walk in the way that leads to enlightenment. We go to the Dharma for guidance. May we be submerged in the depth of the teachings and gain wisdom as deep as the ocean. We go to the Sangha for guidance. May we all with one accord live the life of harmony in the spirit of oneness, free from the bondage of selfishness. Even through myriads of kalpas, hard it is to hear such excellent and profound teachings. Now we are able to hear and receive them. Let us try to understand the Tathagata's teachings. Namam Tabs. Please remain standing for the Gatha Buddha Loves You, found on page 24 of the brown Gatha book. Please be seated. That's Everly's favorite Gatha. Okay, for the highlight of today, our speaker today is our own temple member, Dr. Michael Jaffe.
Dennis, I just want to say it's all about the way you drop the dough. Right? It's a little flick, like thumb. You got to make it nice and round. Yeah, okay. As always, thank you for inviting me back to give the Dharma talk here at Wynwood Buddhist Temple. It's always a privilege. Today's Dharma talk is entitled The Dharma of the Eightfold Path. And this talk will be pulling a lot of some of the concepts I've talked about before in other Dharma talks, mostly because it's a good review, but mostly because I'm running out of material. As is customary, I like to start with a little science. Bert loves this part. Okay, you ever wonder how an airplane flies? A fully loaded 747 weighs just under 1 million pounds. I mean, that requires a lot of lift and thrust. So there's Bernoulli's principle, all right? And what Bernoulli's principle shows is that, here's a water column. As the water speeds up through a more narrow segment, the pressure actually drops. So the faster the flow, the lower the pressure. And you can see the fluid level drops to the region of the greatest flow velocity. Now, how do you relate this to Buddhism? Well, if you look at the way we live our lives as airflow around the wing of an airplane, you can see how the physics applies. Living a fast and easy way of life via the three poisons, craving, hatred, and ignorance, in the bottom of the wing here. In contrast, living a life through the Eightfold Path of Buddhist practice, it's harder, it's longer, and because of that, the air has to flow faster over the top of the wing compared to the air on the lower portion of the wing. And this creates lift. This lift helps to elevate us to the heavens, or the Buddhist equivalent, that of enlightenment. About 2,500 years ago, Siddhartha Gautama became enlightened and dedicated the rest of his life to teaching the path to enlightenment. The essence of Buddha's many discourses and teachings were found in the Wheel of the Eightfold Path. The Wheel of the Eightfold Path, Buddhist Dharma teachings. The Eightfold Path is a guide for specific areas of our lives in which we can experience and discover the true nature of reality. Walking the path is an ongoing practice that brings awareness and perspectives to our lives. Buddha was said to have set the Dharma wheel in motion when he delivered his first sermon. And the Eightfold Path also brings happiness to our lives. Why are these people so happy? It's from Bhutan. As we have discovered before, if we look at the international happiness metrics and compare it with the Blue Zones projects, living, which we do here in Hawaii, which adds to longevity, we see there is a lot of overlap with the Eightfold Path. And I've said this before, that we don't have to recreate the wheel because Buddha has sent it out for us. Let's take a closer look at the path. Right understanding. We must continually seek wisdom to help us learn to see the world as it really is. The wisdom of understanding is not only about acquiring more knowledge, it is about trying to unlearn the concepts and ideas that prevent us from seeing reality as it is. The Four Noble Truths, suffering, the cause of suffering, how to stop suffering, and how to engage in a lifestyle that will address it, helps us to have a wise understanding of the true nature of reality. Right understanding requires letting go of preconceptions, judgments, and reactivity developed over our lifetime of habit. Now, look at those noble truths in the context of our brains and our minds. What is the distinction, you asked? Well, there is a word in neuroscience called neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is basically saying our brain is a lot like a muscle. You can make it stronger, more efficient, even more athletic through exercising it. So even though our brains create our minds, we can use our minds to sculpt our brains. That is, we can use our minds to change our brains for the better. So let's first identify the problem, the noble truths, and then set up to reshape our brains to solve these problems. The first noble truth is that there is suffering in the world. Now, our brains are constantly scanning for bad circumstances and news in our daily lives and over-focusing on that. I call this worry. And, growing up Jewish, I got plenty of that. This, in turn, causes our brains to react in worrisome events by fast-tracking negativity to our memory circuits. The problems develop because our primitive brains have been developed to be alerted and respond to a rattling in the bushes, like in prehistoric time when we get eaten by predators. But in today's world, the bushes seem to be rattling all the time, everywhere. With our daily morning routines, we log on to the news, we read upsetting experiences, and that negatively sensitizes a portion of our limbic system or our emotional system in our midbrains. Our midbrains act as an alarm bell that respond to emotionally charged negative stimuli. This reaction causes the midbrain to increase stress in our body, increasing stress hormones that circulate, and chronic stress hormones create a state of anxiety. And this state can be lodged beneath our conscious awareness, creating constant anxiety regardless of any situation. This overstimulation often leads to depressed mood, anger, and lashing out at others. And it enhances a feeling of us versus them. And we are certainly hearing a lot of that sentiment in today's daily news. The second noble truth of Buddhism, the cause of our suffering is self-inflicted, known as the three poisons of desire, hate, and ignorance. And our job here is to be aware of the influence of these poisons. The third and fourth noble truth is that suffering can be stopped if life can be approached with wisdom in living a good life, not only by doing, but by being. I've kind of outlined here by being, we can practice a state of mind that helps to reshape our brains. Right effort. It takes effort on our part if we want to experience any kind of positive change in our lives. In order to learn a new skill in music, sports, business, we must apply effort. In the same way, right effort affects everything we do in the world. Right effort is about dedicating the time and work required to become more mindful and aware of the nature of reality. The Buddha taught that there are 4 awarenesses to right effort. Notice areas of your life where you realize you are tempted or participate in greedy, angry, or ignorant thoughts or behaviors. Notice unwholesome things that you think about, speak, or do. These habits are our afflictions, or kleshas. You got the word up there? Yeah, again, I don't know how that's not Yiddish. Notice that, at number 3, notice when you tend to these actions or feelings, think about what triggers you to do so. Remember, right effort is not about trying to be perfect, but trying to just be a little better in acting in alignment with our intentions. Notice areas in your life where you could try to build better habits and practice stronger, and be, especially when you're in challenging situations. I call this finding the love in challenging situations, which usually involve my children, by the way. And then fifth, I would add a fifth element that when you do well, be sure to acknowledge and reward yourself. The point about making change towards the right effort is really about trying to be the best we can be on a daily basis. Now, I would add, I'd also throw in that right effort should include exercise, which takes a lot of effort, but really does bring us happiness, reduces pain, and helps us live longer, healthier lives. By the way, this is kind of cool. This is actually midnight in Norway. This is like 12 midnight. Look how bright it is. Kind of cool. Okay, right mindfulness is about paying attention to the current moment. Mindfulness helps us become aware that at any given moment we are capable of experiencing contentment. I have made a connection between Buddhism and driving my electric car. The biggest difference in driving an electric car is the proactive nature of refueling. So when you drive a combustion engine, you get down to 1/8 of a tank, the little orange light comes on, reminds you to pull into the gas station, and 5 minutes later you got a full tank and a bag of chips. But driving an electric car, on the other hand, you have to plan in advance because charging your car takes hours, not minutes, to complete. Buddhism teaches us to be in the moment and to enjoy the here and now, to take in its impermanence. Buddhism, to me, has a silver lining to offset my range anxiety, the proactive refueling, and my monthly payments. I am learning a valued lesson about transportation. I am learning to slow down. No, not my driving, but I have learned to slow down my hectic getting from here to there lifestyle. In San Diego, I used to charge my car at the Tesla supercharge station, where it would take about 45 minutes to charge. As I did so, I would walk around the beautiful San Diego Qualcomm business office grounds. That office complex, there was a community herb garden and vegetable garden for their cafe. There was 2.5 miles of corporate concrete hiking trail, and which I call the Qualcomm Path. And there was a bunch of cottontail bunnies, some of whom I started to name. My favorite attraction was the outdoor lounge chairs where I could sit in the sun and just contemplate. Walking the Qualcomm Path helped me to reorient to the perception of just being there, aware and balanced, and accepting my present experience. I found it took some courage to be more still while merging onto the flowing highway of life. But there on a Walking paths surrounded by bunnies, I was present in the moment, without judgment or expectations, without trying to chase after pleasures or run from pain, and even run back to my vehicle despite the fact that my car had sent me a text message that my charging was done. Right action. Right action means doing what is proper and necessary for your situation. While this sometimes includes a sense of doing the right thing morally, it more closely resembles a guideline for behaving appropriately in any situation. Right action is using our wisdom to lead us to behave fittingly in any situation. One thing I've learned from all of you here at the Honganji is Buddhism is a religion of action rather than belief. And now is a time for action, especially when it comes to climate change. The action we all agree is both personal and policy driven to combat climate change. On the personal action, my climate warrior children have put their money where their mouths are, literally, at the dinner table. Now, I love to barbecue, however, my kids are reminding me that raising cattle is a major contributor to greenhouse gases. Up to 10% of greenhouse gases are from the enormous amount of methane gas these guys emit. So now my kids want to eat vegetarian, or at least have a plant slant to our diet. More environmentally annoying milk has become the new gastronomic villain. And instead of a gallon of cow's milk, my children insist on a gallon each of soy milk, oat milk, almond milk, and cashew milk. For personal action does not have to come from being carbon neutral. The point is being that we just should all do something to guard against climate change. And if we all do a little, it becomes a lot. So what do? I try to think about my mother every day, at least once, that is Mother Earth. Here's a small list of some personal steps we can each take to help us along our climate control path. My children have definitely done this by adopting the 3 R's of reduce, reuse, and recycle. And I know around our house I have to walk on eggshells near the trash bin because I'm concerned I might get caught throwing something away that could be repurposed. Right speech. We are social creatures, and communication is the most important part of human relationships. With right speech, you consider why you say something as much as what you say. Speech should be sincere and genuine. The principle of causality, or karma, can be very useful because it forces us to look how we speak to both ourselves and to others. Are we being judgmental? Do we speak to people with an open and receptive mind, truly listening to what they say? Do our words uplift people and help them see their potential, or do we put them down? This is where karma and the practice of Buddhism and other religions start with the teaching of ethics and morality, because a lot of suffering could be avoided if we just thought, spoke, and acted with awareness, discernment, and compassion, with good karma. The aloha spirit here in Hawaii is an important reason we have such harmony here compared to other states in the Union. Colloquially, we use aloha here to mean hello, goodbye, and love all in one. We all find this to be a useful tool. Aloha grounds us to our Hawaiian lifestyle, to nature, and to each other. How's that for developing good karma? Semantics is important, and so much so that many other languages have a similar word that captures the aloha spirit. In Israel, it's shalom. In Italy, ciao, jambo in Swahili, and namaste in Hindi. I think if English had one word that expressed hello, goodbye, and love in our linguistic landscape, we could sprinkle this word around liberally and live in a more civil place here in America. Here at Honganji Buddhist Temple, we have a community or sangha bound by the words Namo Amida Butsu. Perhaps that is a good start. Right intent, when our intentions stem from anger and hatred, they're more likely to cause harm than from happiness or gratitude. When we act reactively, it's very difficult to be mindful of the intent behind our words and actions. As a physician, I am a chronic pain specialist, and last month I read a very interesting study that anyone discharged from a hospital with any sort of surgery, 95% of the time in the United States, those patients will leave with a prescription of opiates. Now, if you look at Europe, Central America, and South America, only 5% of postoperative patients receive prescriptions for opiates. That is such a huge discrepancy. Why is there such a huge discrepancy? Let's take a Buddhist look at this issue. Buddha taught that inevitable suffering is part of the human condition and is to be recognized and understood. Certainly having some pain after surgery is to be expected. This would be some degree of inevitable suffering. The problem is, in the United States, our expectations is we should have no postoperative pain. This adds to our pre-existing anxieties, reactive minds, and we create a level of added suffering. We thus develop a reliance on medications to treat our added suffering, our emotional suffering. I call this chemical coping. To stop this reliance on medications, we should try to better understand about the causes of suffering so we can focus our treatments around compassion, empathy, and education. For the more we learn about the true causes of suffering and the art of suffering well, the less suffering there will be in the world. Using Buddhist teaching, suffering can reduce much more effectively than most Western medicine can hope to ever achieve. With Buddhist wisdom, there is effective treatment for suffering through nurturing happiness. And this is done by some of those things listed there. Right livelihood. Buddhist teaching goes beyond just the type of job or career we have. It also includes how we interact with our coworkers and our customers. Ultimately, it's up to us to make the judgment call regarding the way we make a living. It's about doing what we do with the best intent and doing it with passion that counts. The red, white, and black phases of livelihood. I like to break my life as a man into 3 phases of color. The red phase was when I was early in my career and a hungry warrior, trying to make the name for myself as well as a living. Siddhartha spent his first 29 years in the red phase as a prince. My middle years I call the white phase, since I felt like a knight in shining white armor, helping all in need. I raised my kids to be good citizens. Siddhartha spent his white years as an ascetic, achieving high levels of meditative consciousness. The black phase of life is, I call the consultant phase. This is where I am now. I'm still working, but not as hard, and I am needed more for my wisdom as a consultant than I am needed as a workhorse. Amida Buddha's black phase encompassed becoming the awakened one with enlightenment. He then went on to spread the Dharma. I hope by attending services here at Hongwanji, I will become a better consultant as I fulfill my new work role. And finally, right concentration. Concentration is the practice of focusing the mind solely on one thing. Whatever you are doing at the moment, this does not have to be through meditation. Concentration is non-judgmental. Intentional paying attention to the unfolding of our present moment experience. The second sermon at Deer Park, Buddha broke down the individual into 5 aggregates: form, sensation, perception, mental processing, and consciousness. What concentration allows us to do is separate where the aggregate self ends and the non-self begins. Concentration can help us dissolve the sense of separateness and heighten a sense of interconnectedness. Concentration, in essence, allows for deeper and deeper understanding of the truth. Many Buddhist scholars have written about it. Concentration is the first great step we have to take in order to find happiness. To end my talk, I would like to bring in one more law of physics, that being Newton's third law. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Haven't you ever wondered, how does something in space fly when there's no atmosphere to push against, right? The Eightfold Path is the propellant to achieve happiness for ourselves and others, and boosts us towards enlightenment. The Eightfold Path is a process. The insights and methods taught here in this humble Honganji provide us with a toolbox for action. For every action, we shape our reality, helping us to understand our interdependence with all those around us, which manifests as a reaction for compassion for others, for Earth, and for ourselves. Namo Amida Butsu.
Thank you, Dr. Mike. That was very interesting. I've never heard of the explanation of Eightfold Path quite like that, but I thought it was very, very interesting. I learned a lot. Please rise for the Gatha, Children in Japan, found on page 29 of the Brown Gatha book. At the end of the Gatha, remain standing for the Nembutsu, which is found on page 107 in that Gatha book.
Each idea that is thought, each word that is spoken, each action that is taken changes the whole pattern of the universe. For the universe is interdependent. Think, speak, then act, then, always in the eternal now, with compassion and understanding for your own enlightenment and for the enlightenment of all sentient beings. common love.
That concludes the service. Thank you, everybody. And now we'll have announcements by Prudence.
Good morning. And I also want to join Dennis in thanking everybody that helped yesterday at Windward Mall. It was rather a loud dance, wasn't it? Let's see. Oops, sorry. Thank you for our volunteers for today. Mike, that was an interesting way of looking at that. And I learned some science things whenever you're here. So, thank you. And Dennis for being MC. I was afraid you might not make it, but you did. And let's see. Lisa for doing the piano, and Neil for serving as our greeter. And Team B under Dana is serving refreshments today. And Ryan forever doing our recording. And Reverend for being here and guiding us all the time. And today being First Sunday, I'm glad I see some children here. Anyway, before I go on, where's Cynthia? There she is. It's also birthday Sunday. So I'll let Cynthia do that.
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. I wanted to bank on Dennis and Prudence and also say thank you so much, yes, last night, for all the volunteers that helped at the Bon Dance. It was a huge success. It was busy, tiring, but it was great. Thank you. Okay, all those who have a birthday in October, please stand. Don't be shy. Oh, here, he's standing, but he looks like he's sitting. Is that you, Jet? Come. Yay, only one birthday? Oh, okay, but we're gonna sing to you, okay? So, okay, oh wait, you gotta get your lei. Okay, so stand there, and we're all gonna, no, stand. And we're all gonna sing happy birthday, okay? On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Jeff.
Happy birthday to you.
Yay! Happy birthday.
Okay. Although participating in temple activity is open to the public, a person is officially recognized as a member of Windward Buddhist Temple by filling out a sustaining membership pledge card and paying the sustaining membership pledge. And sustaining members are then eligible to serve on the board. And, we're so happy to have so many people attend our services, and then we're very happy when some of them decide to become sustaining members. And so today I want to recognize 2 new members that we have. It's Natasha Lopes and her family. It's sitting in the second row. And you brought a guest today. Yes, thank you. And Miles Yamamoto, but Miles isn't here today. You always see me in the back row with his brother Neil and his parents. So they have become our regular members. Let's see. Okay, one other thing that the board wants, every so often, and I think we did it 2 years ago, wants to know how we're doing, okay? How are we doing to help you realize the temple's mission? And we want to know from you how well we've done, what more we can do. And in planning for next year, we decided we're going to ask you for your, complete a short survey. So I'll have it in the back there. Hang on. If I can find it. See, I made a little rainbow box. So there's a little slot here, and I'll have the surveys. There's just half a page. And if you can take the time to fill it out, members or not, and just throw it in there. And then we're going to start collecting it from, you can take it home and bring it back the next time. And what I'll do is I'll be sending it out to members that don't normally attend services, so we'll get input from all members. And we're going to collect it from today through November 13. Then the board meets that week of November 13, and we'll tally it up and get some idea of what our members feel about what we've been doing and what more you want us to do. I think 2 years ago, there were several names mentioned of people that they thought we should invite to be guest speakers, that we did that. And so there's things like that where we want to know. And then that'll help us plan for the next year. So that's what this box would be there for. Let's see. What else do I have? Oh, our fall food drive starts on the 16th, and it'll go for about 4 weeks. So I'll have a box out there labeled. Next week, Sunday, Dennis will be conducting our services because one of our longtime members passed away, and her services are tomorrow, right during, that Sunday during service time. So Reverend and will be conducting that, and several of us will probably attend her service. I think her obituary showed up today. The other thing is that, we are running out of space. So especially in our storage room, if some of you walk in there, you have to kind of walk in there's hardly any space to walk. So one of the things we're going to do is, due to limited space, we're going to no longer be collecting recyclables. Not that we're going to throw it away, Mike. You're going to have to bring it home and recycle it because there's just not enough space in there. So we ask that you take yours home and then recycle it in your own home bin. Thank you for that. And so, as I told you last week, we're making pumpkins. So I made a lot of little pumpkins that I showed you, but I gotta show you, I made a giant one. I forgot what size of the tubing I had to buy, so I bought this one. And when I filled, I said, oh my God, it's so huge. So I had to go look for the smaller one. But somebody can put this together, so.
Move your box or hold it higher.
Oh. So, and then this is what it looks like before you spray it. So if somebody wants to be creative and take this home and spray it purple or whatever color you want, and you can make your own, somebody's welcome to take this home. So, you want this, I'll fly it over to you.
It's repurposing, Mike.
Where's Jet?
Jet.
The pumpkin, making a pumpkin is very simple, so it might not take very long. And so I figured there'd be kids here today. So look what I made. It's a bouncy ball. Come, Jet. I want you to show them that this actually bounces. Come. Can you bounce this? It's a ball. You just bounce it on the ceiling. Bounce it down. Catch it. So for the children, even the adults, if you want, you can make bouncy balls. You can have, but you can make your own too. Okay? All right. Yeah, it doesn't stay quite round. You got to make it really round to bounce, but if it got angles, it goes all kinds of ways. All right. Any other announcements that I forgot? Otherwise, let's go over our words of thanksgiving and go across there, have something to eat. Meanwhile, I'll set up the table on this side, and you can make pumpkins and bouncy balls. All right. It's in your red book, page 126. We are truly grateful for this wonderful food, a gift of life.
May we
May we
share
all-
its benefits with all
All
beings.
beings. As we partake of this food, let us remember Amida Buddha's compassion, which surrounds all people and all forms of life. Namu Amida Butsu. Itadakimasu.